Yeah. Hello, everyone. Very good day and welcome back to the second Maker Stock. As promised, this is our second Maker Stock among the three Maker Stock that we will be having. Today, on this beautiful day, we have three distinguished speakers. First speaker being Mr. Kang Joo Song, the Managing Director of Afinex Innovations in Berhad. The second speaker for today is Mr. Ong Keat Teong, the General Manager of Keysight Technology China in Beijing. And finally, for our final speaker, we have Mr. Nilavarasan Periasamy, Senior Maker Penang of the Science Cluster. Now, before we proceed, this Maker Stock is in conjunction with our main event that we're organizing, which is Makers at USM International Virtual Fair 2020. As you can see here below, this is our website that you can visit for everyone in order to get information or particulars about our event. So if you scroll down here, you have many information that you can view. This is our briefing video that you all can watch before starting a project, or even if you're really curious of what this project is about. And below here, you can view the participation list and how to register and many more at the award sections and so on. And you can even view at the judging criteria and our organization's chart. And towards the end of this session, or towards the end of this talk today, I will go more depth into the websites and what you all should be really taking note of. Now, before we begin, some important reminders to everyone. Firstly, please take your attendance for this Maker Stock, which is linked in the live YouTube chat box. Now, this is important because we are giving certificates to everyone who attends these Maker Stocks. So for everyone who attended the first Maker Stock, you will get a certificate. And for everyone who's attending this second Maker Stock, you will get your own specific certificates as well. Secondly, on the reminder, please, those teams who are willing or want to join our event, which is in August, the Makers at USM International Virtual Fair 2020, for those who are still interested in joining, you can still do your registration at our website here, as you can see. And this is the last week for you all to do our registration because the registration closes on the 30th of April. So this is a very crucial week here. And those who still register, please do so. And thirdly, third reminder that we still have our final Maker Stock, which is the third Maker Stock, which will be held on the 30th of April. So please do catch all this Maker Stock as it is crucial for you all, as you can gain knowledge on how to be a maker and how to actually do your projects and start your projects for those who have never really been a maker in the first place. Now then, introducing our first speaker for today, which is Mr. Kang Joo Song.
Excuse me, can I start now?
Yes.
Okay, so I can start my presentation now, right? I can start my presentation now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, have a nice day. Okay, so now I would like to start my project. I will share my screen. I have a PowerPoint, so I will share my screen. Hold on. Okay. So today my topic will be how to be a successful maker. So I will talk in the region experience I have. Okay. Before that, I try to introduce myself. I am Kang Joo Song from Afinex Innovation. I actually have around more than 30 year experience in maker. From a project at factory, different kind of project, my hobby project, some project I do for school. Actually, for me, project is very common, daily things for me. So I try to, for this presentation, I would like to share one of the recent charity project I done for my my wife's kindergarten. Okay, so I would like to start my slide now. At first, I will viewing a video, and then after that, I will explain the video. Okay. So this project actually is a project, a coin donation project for a kindergarten student. So I will explain the process of making the project for this project. So this project, at first, Miss Low would like to make a bamboo bank like this. That means actually they have a picture from the previous idea. So Miss Low wanted to make something like that, but she want to modify also, not exactly like that. So one day, Miss Low went to a market and found this metal basin, like what you see, the white color one, which could make sound of clang clang. That means he want the coin when fall into the basin, you have a sound of clang clang like that. Okay. So after buying the basin, Miss Low show and discuss with Mr. Kang, is me, about the making of this project. So I actually brainstormed with her, okay, on the idea, on the various method of making, key concept, those sort of things. And then finally proposed to using the pipe, using a PVC pipe, and then cut a gap in the pipe to allow the coin to flow through. Okay, you can see on this corner, okay, the cutting is like that. So actually we went to the hardware shop to purchase the material and did experiment. We do experiment, a prototyping experiment. And I found out the experiment is okay at that hardware shop. At the moment, at that hardware shop, we're actually using a electrical cutout tools actually to cut the slot, and then find out it's working, no problem. And also after study, found out that the longer the pipe actually is more better. So we decide to purchase the longer one and then do the cutting. Okay. And also thanks for the hardware shop did help to send the pipe, okay, to the kindergarten. So the next step is the last Sunday. So I actually go to do the assembly installation. So I need to solve the difficulties of stabilize the pipe. I mean to mount the pipe on one end and then also at the other end. Make sure that the pipe because the pipe we're going to use for 1 month. So make sure that throughout the process, 1 month process, this pipe didn't fall down, okay? And then the coin can flow smooth to the basin. So you can see down here is the hammer, the tools that we use. Hammer, electrical cutout tools, cable tie, pipe clamp, wood, okay? So there's a material using for this process. So the next process is actually the next day. They have a helper there. The uncle actually paint the pipe into a brown color. So with the help of a mirror, the uncle could accomplish the mission beautifully without bending his body. So actually the tools is used is a paint, brush, and mirror. but also the uncle need to have a skill to do the process. And also the further process will be, we need to prepare the bamboo, because to beautify the decoration, they have a raw bamboo. Behind the kindergarten, they have a small mountain. Actually, they have a raw bamboo there. So actually, they get helper to cut the bamboo. And Sister Li Mei actually is the one who beautified and setting with the bamboo, stone, plant, and fabric. So the bamboo actually have also some of the part that we need to cut out. We're using the electric cut out tools to do this process. So the next one will be Sister Chow, 74 years old lady. She's talented in Chinese painting. She helped to touch out all the calligraphy wording. So you can see actually using the paper and then brush and ink, and she actually good in writing those Chinese, good in calligraphy wording. And they have another person is the student parent, talented, very talented in video shooting and video editing. So he come to help. That means we need to tell him, the first day we tell him the concept, Miss Low tell him the concept, and then the second day he come to do after they setting out, he come to do the whole video shooting with the sound, add in the sound also. So this is the project completion. That means after the whole thing, this is a project completion, okay? So I would like to describe inside, what is inside the project process. So the first thing is define the problem, or what is the goal to achieve. That means the first thing is Miss Low want to achieve something. She want to make a donation, a coin donation project. So for a month, okay? So to encourage the student to do donation, okay, for the poor. So this is define the problem. And then the second one is correct information and search for what is available as the reference model, okay? So actually, we have a reference model, like you said, like we see previously, they have a previous model, and then we will see what we can leverage from there, copy the idea, okay? So the third one will be brainstorm and analyze idea and develop the key concept. Because we want to make a modification, make the thing better. So we want the coin flow faster, and then more longer. It means a more longer period of coin flowing. So actually, we have to develop a key concept. So the key concept, the key component will using the PVC pipe. The key concept is the coin actually have a cut hole to flow, to let the coin to flow. So the fourth one, develop solution and build a test model to test the concept. So we actually need to test the concept first before we making the real one. If the concept can work, only we can make the bigger one. That means we need to make the model to test the concept. So this is normally what we practice in the industry. Project planning and gather talent and material. So after the concept is correct, it's okay. Then after that, we can start to plan the project already. Then get talented people and require materials. So this is a plan. So number 6 is construct project. So we do. So just now what you see from the previous picture is all about construct project. Number 7 is a test the project working as planned. So it's a check. See whether it's working or not. We need to perform modification if any problem. Okay, if the project didn't work well or something wrong after install. Okay, not as we planned. Number 9 is document the project. Example, video shooting, video editing, or even though you can take picture or do whatever documentation. So number 10 is publish the project. The project is now ready to function as is planned. That means can call the people to come in to use the project. So you can see in terms of the whole process, they have a combination of what? Interest. The people who involved in this particular project, they have some talent. That means they have some skill. Some people know how to do a painting. Some people know how to do installation. Some people know how to create ideas. So they have a different interest and different skill. And to accomplish a thing, we need tools and materials. So that means you can see here, okay, we have an ink and a brush, paper, plus a very skillful, talented person. And then at the end, we can accomplish whatever you want to do, okay? So everyone actually is a maker. So it's whether you do it yourself or you do it together. So if you do it yourself, you do from first stage to the end of the stages. That means like what I described previously, the process. So if we do it together, that means everyone actually participate in part of the process. Okay, for them it's also a project. Okay, for uncle, the project will be painting. Okay, for the sister here, the project will be handling the bamboo. That means how to beautify the bamboo. For me, the project is to do the installation. Actually, for me also, I create the ideas or the key concept of this project. So this project consider do it together project. That means everyone involved in do it together. So it will be very interesting when you do a project like that. Okay, so before I end, I actually try to explain, we also create a makerspace in Chongqing Private so that let our student can learn, okay, in the environment like that, can learn to develop their skill, okay, different type of skill. And then at the end, they also can do the project, whether in an individual project or in a group project, okay. Thank you. That's all for my presentation. Okay, I'm okay already.
Thank you, Mr. Kang Joo Song. Hold on, please.
He has to share.
Sir, I think you have to stop sharing first.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, now inviting Mr. Ong Keat Teong for the second talk today. On his topic will be how to start a maker's project. You can take the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me share my screen. All right, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for the organizing committee by inviting me to have this short and simple sharing session. And I hope after the sharing, the people here, I mean, the floor here can get benefit from here, right? So the, I mean, where I am and who I am is not as critical. Important is the information conveyed in this sharing, how that will help you, right? So today I'm going to talk about how to start a maker's project, right? And this is purely an experience sharing, right? So, let me go through from a basic fundamental, right? From idea to a product. And usually how the idea to product process work, right? It's very simple. It's just an idea, right? You have an idea, and then from an idea, you just do a sketch down an idea on a paper, and do a design either through the computer, or is just go ahead and direct do the design and just make it happen, right? And after that, it's very simple. Go achieve, document, and sharing. So in this perspective, I mean, from a sharing perspective, I try not to make thing complex and not scare people, right? So this is the very simple step 1, 2, 3, and make an idea. I mean, by transforming an idea into a product, right? But anyway, in reality, this is not so straightforward, right? So for a call to an action to a goal achieved, you need a lot of process and the support surrounding by you, and also the knowledge you need to have, right? So in reality, you need to have a learning process. You need to have a community to support your idea to a project, right? I mean, makers for a simple thing, yeah, you can do it yourself, but sometimes if a maker has a brilliant idea that you need to do something is more complex, more difficult, then you need a learning curve, right? To learn from point A to point B. You need to learn from a tools A to tools B to tools C, whatever thing, right? So you need a good learning partner, learning program, and a community surrounding you, right? And then also you need to know about what kind of tools and what kind of supply you can get around you, right? So around, I mean, you want to do a wood making project, you need to know where to buy the wood, right? As a fundamental, where to get the wood. You need a metal work, where you get the iron, where you get the aluminum, or where you get the stainless steel, and etc. Right? So these are the fundamental you always need to have in your mind, and to understand how the process from the point A to point B, along that process, what kind of the element you need to acquire, right? So with this simple analogy, I will go through in very simple way of talking, and on the call to action all the way to the goal achievement, right? So back to this call to action, right? As I mentioned just now, sketch it, right? Whenever you have an idea, right? To be frank, idea come in just as an instance. If you're not document it down, maybe in a second later, or minutes later, or an hours later, you may get your idea. It become the more blur about the idea, right? Eventually the idea will gone, right? So first thing is sketch down your idea, whatever you convenient, right? And then the second opinion is the when you have the idea, you want whatever you want to do, try yourself or do yourself to simplify that, right? Don't start a maker project with a very complex or complicated process, right? Example, I mean, I can quote an example, right? Let's say you want to have an weather station at home. You want to build a weather station at home, right? Weather station typically is combination of the wind speed, combination of the humidity temperature, the combination of the so-called rain volume, so-called collector, and also some more extreme, it can come into UV index, right? And also the so-called sunlight and sunset and sun off kind of time, so-called measurement kind of thing, right? So it's combination of a lot of sensor, right? So if if I want to make something like a weather station at home, if I one time I bring in all the sensor and plug into one controller and start to do the software, I may get myself into trouble, right? Because eventually I spend more time in troubleshooting instead of happily doing the coding and make the thing works, right? So this is a advice to everyone here, that make things happen one step at one time, right? So scope it down. Make sure don't make the scope too broad and too wide, right? All right. Then the second point is after the sketch, you need to design it down, right? So design it down, it also depending on what kind of thing you want to do, right? Some may not necessarily need to be designed in so-called computer tools. Some you can straight away do it. Example, as what Kang mentioned, like example, you want to make something like make a home or so-called home improvement, or you want to do a repainting, right? So that you need to do any design, right? Or maybe you just need to do some sketch out, then you just color it to see the color, whether you satisfy yourself or not. Then the second thing is you need to know what kind of paint to use at that environment and that environment, right? Different paint has their different functions, right? And also the color reflect to influence your mood kind of thing, right? So that you need to use a computer. Let's say you do something like electronics project, then you need computer aided tools to help you to make your project a success, right? So in here, I'm putting an assumption. This topic is surrounding with the electronics design, right? So example, when you want to do a design, you need a tools. In here, I just lay out, I just pointing a simple, three of the very common use tools in the market or so-called maker environment, right? Freezing, Arduino IDE, and SketchUp. If you want to do some electronics schematic design and a simple PCB layout, freezing is one of the simple and easy to use tools. If you want to use any microcontroller, I think Arduino is not new to everyone. It has been booming up, and to be frank, Arduino today is quite a powerful tool, right? Then if you need to do something like you need to use a 3D printer to print out some housing or some fitting to fit a sensor, to fit the so-called overall design, then you need to use a 3D printer. Then SketchUp online is a free tool. You can design or you can model your 3D modeling online through this SketchUp tools as one of that, right? Then after you design, you have to understand what kind of material you want to use, where to get a supply, right? So this is all about the design, right? Then after you get the thing ready, you complete the design, you want to start to do the work, then you just do it, right? Just simple, just do it. But to make it happen, that is a little bit complicated, right? So first of all, you need to find a maker space for you to get yourself dirty. To get your hand dirty, right? So not everyone are luxury enough to invest all the tools to be put at home, right? So some of the tools you need to really go out and find who has the tools that it can be commonly used, and usually it's a maker space, right? So later I'm going to talk more about makerspace, but anyway, this is one of the concept or idea that I hope that everyone can understand, right? And also that after you get a makerspace, you get yourself involved, get a hand dirty, then you just build, assembly, and test it, and you're satisfied, right? And this is about call to action, right? So on top of that, let me go a little bit about this learning on community, right? To be frank, be a maker. How to say that? If a person is not self-motivated, and if a person is not self-satisfied or motivated to learn, to pick up the new knowledge from day to day, never-ending learning, I don't think that person will become a maker, right? Maker is always challenging. You have an idea, you want to do anything, right? That will always trigger a challenge to yourself, like, okay, this is the this discipline to another discipline to another discipline, right? From this to there, how do I achieve to that destination, right? So self-learning is one of the elements that you need to have within you, right? And after, on top of that, also you need to find all those learning material surrounding by you, right? In old days, the old school way, maybe my generation, right? Where am I? Where do I get the resources? Is everywhere. Everything is in the library. It's so inconvenient, right? You have to go library, right? And today's is different world. Now is a 5G technology, right? The speed of internet, the so-called information exchange and flow is so fast until whatever you want, you just go internet and find it, right? So in other words, is the learning material is always available for at least for this generation, right? Information is everywhere. It's depending on how eager you want to find, right? So in here, I quote two of the web page that could be helpful, right? One is Instructable, and the other one, no doubt everyone should know it, YouTube. Except people stay in China may not be easily get access to YouTube. Other than that, I shouldn't be issue, right? So in that, there's a lot of people write Instructable is very good web page that people document down step by step how to make the thing happen, right? YouTube is more on people video that record the whole process start to process end, how to make the thing happen, right? So it's up to you. You want to read through step by step, watch a video, or get an ebook, read through the ebook, whatever you want to do it, as long as it's convenient to you and make yourself more comfortable, right? So go ahead and get a learning material anyway. Then the third point is about community. Community is one of the very important elements to become a successful maker. Maker is not always, it's always not, or it can be part of the individual effort, but eventually it will be much more faster for you to learn if you become a community learning practice, right? So I born in Penang, I'm from Penang, so I a little bit more familiar about what is happening in Penang 5 years ago, right? So in here, I just named Penang Science Cluster as one of the example, the community available in Penang, whereby people can just join the community. And inside, there's a lot of a maker, and that you can exchange idea, ask question. That also it has a maker space for people to use it to make a dream come true through all those the maker community, right? And on top of that, the physical community, you can go and join all those forums. I just named two examples, Arduino forum and Freezing forum. And when you are working on some of the maker project, you start on something else. You search through the internet, you cannot find a resolution, or sometimes the resolution doesn't tell a clear instruction or the theory behind for you to understand, right? So with this, join the forum, learn to ask the question and see how the profession, I mean the community respond to your question. You learn it, you experiment it, then turn it into a solution, right? So this is how learning and community helps you to make yourself more and more ready and more advanced into the maker world and environment. Okay. Then I think the third point here is about my tools and supply. Again, this is a maker. Maker doesn't restrict to any discipline. I mean, the way I mentioned discipline is about electronics makers, electrical makers, or those the wood cutting, woodworking, metalworking, construction. People talk on chemical, whatever, anything, right? So makers come along with many disciplines, right? So it depends on what discipline you are interested with, right? Let's say if you are more interested in the electronics and electrical, then you have to understand what kind of tools typical people use, what kind of tools in the world people use to do what kind of thing. Example, the electronics or electrical, right? All those fundamental like soldering iron, the solder lead, multimeter, tweezer, and also all those the test pen and etc. And maybe you have to understand about oscilloscope as well, right? Or UV exposure machine. All those are the fundamental or basic tools that can help you to make your project works, right? If you are looking into this embedded system and computing, right? You like to do a lot of programming. You like to do a lot of the firmware, right? By the way, firmware and the software, that is a very big difference. Firmware, you need to manage the memory very well, or else you'll be easily run out of memory. So firmware and the software, and in the embedded system or so-called computing or software world, you need to find the right tools for you, right? What kind of tools has the best example, a compiler? Who has the best compiler can optimize your code? Who has the best simulation or emulation or debugging tools to help you step out line by line of your coding to understand where the memory or how the memory works along your code? And all those about the tools that you select, right? If you don't know, I don't think it's a problem. You just go online and internet and ask what kind of tools available and etc. Right? Then if you're talking about woodworking or metalworking, right? Do you use the grinder before? Do you use the this iron before? I mean the the iron, and also like router, sander, circular saw, all those plier, spanner, whatever, right? The G clamp, F clamp, anything, whatever, right? So all those tools that you can go into this makerspace and understand that people are usually talking about that kind of tools and what kind of thing you need to use, what kind of tools. Usually people has the best practice about it, right? So this is about, you have to go to the community and learn about it, right? Then the other point is about resources. You want to achieve something, you want to do something, you need to know where can you get a supply, right? Example, just now I mentioned, if you want to make a chair or table, you need to know where to buy a right wood to make a chair, right kind of wood to make a table, right? So this is something that you need to understand what the material you have around. And the easiest way today is, of course, you just go and get it online, order it online. And usually you can get the supply within 1 day to 2 days to weeks, depending on where the source of the supply, right? And the other idea is that I hope you can take it as a practice. The other is the store is an alternate to you, right? So I want to share one of the map that I was born in, the Penang Island. And this is the Georgetown area, right? This is Georgetown area. So since young, when I want to do any hands-on project, that time we never call it maker, we just call hands-on project. So I know I want to make an electronics project. I know immediately I can find the electronics component from this 3 shop, right? If I want to buy aluminum, either aluminum sheet or aluminum rod or any kind of aluminum material, I know here, let me put a pointer. Then I know this place I can find an aluminum source. It's the place to, it's a very big distributor about aluminum. I can get it from here. If I want to get something like stainless steel, very unique stainless steel fitting, oh, I can get it from here, this shop here, right? Then about perspective, this acrylic that I want to use as the housing, then I know this is the place I can get the perspective. And along this road, there's a lot of hardware shop. So I can walk around here, do a shopping. If I need to find any hardware tools that I need to use for my project, right? Just go ahead and walk along the street, ask around the supplier and ask about their opinion and exchange idea, right? What you want to do and what are the recommended tools to use, and they can recommend to you, right? So this is something that is useful. You can make yourself a map in your mind, what you want to do, what you want to buy, where can I buy it? This is very important, right? And surprisingly, there's one chemical shop are selling all those common chemical, right? Like example, the line like you used to make the UV exposure material, or you want to buy this ferric chloride. If you want to buy this, the what they call polyester, I can't remember the whole name, epoxy, right? This shop do sell, right? You can get common chemical in here, right? And in fact, the owner from this shop is, I think, 90 years old already. And he's still very, very creative. Whatever you ask, I mean, whatever question you have, you just ask the guy and the guy will answer you, right? What kind of material to use and what kind of application, right? I mean, this is something that I recommend you guys to think about the shop surrounding you. You have a lot of experts around you. All right. And all right, I think this is in general from my sharing, and in here I would like to do a quick summary. I mean, in a nutshell, right? It's very simple. Take action on what you have in mind, right? If you always dream of it and never take an action, it's always a dream. It will never come true, right? You just dream it, become a daydreaming. It doesn't help, right? So take an action, whatever you have in mind, whatever you think you want to do it. If you think it will be benefit improve your lifestyle, or improve your skill, or improve your so-called or make your work more efficient and etc. Like, just do it, right? And then the second recommendation is on one small step per move, right? As mentioned, do not jump into the complex project for the beginner. I do see a school project before, a university project before, and that student make a project so complicated. It has a lot of sensor, a lot of function in one small robot, and eventually that project is so difficult to pitch or to tell the audience that what is the actual function of this project, right? Because it's combination of too many things, and it makes people feel that this thing is just want to make everything into one piece, and it doesn't help in the life, right? So this doesn't help as a maker, right? So get something useful, right? Make things simple. If I have a complex idea, ask around the community and simplify the process and simplify the design, right? This is very important, right? And if you one day, I mean, these makers, I'm not sure, I assume this more on the student as the audience here, right? If one day you go into the, I mean, you enter a company as R&D man, R&D engineer, if you design some mechanical housing or fitting in a company, let me tell you, design for, usually people call DFX today, design for everything, is one of the process critical that influence your product cost, right? If you design a mechanical fitting, it's so complicated to form that shape, you increase your cost. If you have a simple thinking process that you can change the design to a very simple process, then the cost of product will be much more lower, right? So start from a day one, train yourself, do not over complex your idea, right? Simplify it. Then the third point is find a makers community nearby you and join them, right? Join them. Usually how this work is, whatever group you join, that will become your personality and that will become your career, right? So you want to be a maker, join the makers, very simple, right? And the best is the makers group with a maker space, and that you can go and use the tools whenever at your convenience and make your dreams come true, right? Then the fourth point is on the explore more the tools and the processes in the different maker discipline, right? The way I mentioned this, the maker discipline, as mentioned just now, it can be electrical, it can be electronic, it can be wood, it can be I mean anything, right? Up to agriculture and whatever, right? So it's cut across all the discipline, and don't overestimate the discipline next to you, right? For example, if I want to make a so-called automatic, I mean, let's say a very simple project. People talking about automatic watering system for agriculture, right? So do we really understand the agriculture environment, right? What kind of a plant required, what kind of level of moisture on the soil, right? And that is a different discipline of the knowledge that people are needing to acquire, right? If I want to design a watering system fit to, example, strawberry farming, fit to maybe whatever vegetable farming, or any fruit, durian, or mango, or pineapple, whatever, right? You name it. Different plant or different agriculture, they have their different characteristics. That discipline is a different knowledge of this is a different knowledge discipline that as a maker, we need to, sometimes we have to cut across, we have to understand and learn, right? Okay, then the last point is the continuous learning, right? Forum is always your best choice of the community, right, as for your learning. And yeah, I think that's all I have, right? So important is happy learning and make your dreams come true, make a project, right? So yeah, I think that's all I have for today's sharing. Let me pass back to the moderator. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ong. We'll share screen first. Okay, before we move on to the third speaker, we have a bunch of questions here. So we'll move on to the Q&A questions first for the both speakers here. Okay, First question is to Mr. Kang. What is a good first project or first step for someone without any experience to start their maker's journey?
Okay, I can say now. Okay, for maker actually is when I'm small, very small. That means I actually live in the so-called kampong. I'm kampong boy. So for us, we actually have to make our own toy. And then we just see who have what, and then we copy. I mean, you need what, then you try to. For us, let's say you want to play a gun, okay? When we are small, we want to make a gun and then you can shoot people. So actually, we just using a wood and then we cut. But we get a sample, okay? We see people do like that, and then we copy, and then we cut it to the shape, and then make some new function there, okay? This one consider maker also, okay? Simple maker, because you just copy, make, okay? When I go to study in U, then I learn the proper knowledge, okay, on understanding the electronics, logic, circuit, those type of things. Then I can make something with a logic gate. Then when I'm working, I learn microcontroller. Microcontroller is one of the things that I like the most. I actually doing embedded design. So when you learn something, you try to make use of it. That means you learn microcontroller, then you try to see what you can do. I think this is most easiest. That means you try to explore, okay, what you can do easily. Let's say you first time you do a microcontroller, and then you want to say, okay, are you using microcontroller to trigger a buzzer, okay, when the time comes. So you just do it. You just do like that. Like that also is a maker already, because it's something is have to come from the very simple thing. You cannot straight away go to very complex design. It's always start with some simple thing, and then you do and do again. Sometimes you have to repeat and repeat, do, and then keep on do modification, little modification for the second time. I always have some habit, like first time I do, okay, I explore, I familiar. Second, I redo again. I want to train my skill on the same thing. Then I also make myself more familiar. That means I keep on have maybe 5% improvement every time. Just keep on doing until you familiar, because microcontroller, you always involved in how to start a program, how to download the firmware. You got a lot of basic skill there that you need to familiar. And then you add a little bit function there and then make it success. So always when you start with something very, very simple, and then understand the fundamental. Always fundamental is very, very important. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Kang. This next question is for Mr. Ong. What is the most vital part in starting a maker's project?
Sorry, could you repeat the question again? What is the part?
What is the most vital part in starting a maker's project, the most important part?
Wow, this is a bit difficult to answer. As I mentioned, there are a lot of discipline as a maker, right? So every different discipline has the different entry point as a starter. I mean, I'm more familiar as the electronics portion, right? So for electronics, the vital part, the critical entry point is that what is the end function you want to achieve? Then from there you have to back think, right? A good example, let's say you want to do a security system. You want to know you want to make something that want to detect someone go into your, nearby your home, alarm a trigger, right? That is the function you want to have. Then you backthink, what is the trigger point? I mean, what is the vital point of entry? I mean, to begin the project, right? Then you think about, okay, what kind of sensor I need to use, right? And that sensor, what is the common sensor people use? What is the and how to use that sensor and etc. And do I need a controller or do I need a microcontroller as the part of the design and etc. I mean, those are the second step, right? So back to the fundamental is you have to understand what you want to achieve. That is the vital part. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ong. Now back to Mr. Kang. This question is, should we set a deadline when starting a project? If yes, usually how long should the duration be?
Okay. Actually, every project, you have a plan, do, check, act. It means, as I mentioned in my slide, you have the plan, and then in the plan, actually, you have also planned the deadline. So the duration of the project depend on they got few elements. First element is the most important element is do you want to do some project? Do you already have the concept ready or not? Do you know the concept, or you are trying to not understand the concept? You want to do something that you don't understand. That means like that you actually need longer period, because you need to go through the key concept. You need to prove the key concept can work. Only you can further the project. If your key concept not ready, you also don't understand, the concept is not there. Okay, this is a concept. I mean the key concept, or so-called key. Sometimes it's selecting a key component. Okay, key component also important. Sometimes also because the component that you want to buy, it will take you maybe 2 months to arrive. Okay, like that your project actually, the longer period will be that component to arrive. Only you can start doing something. Okay, so you have to divide the project into few parts. First part is the design stage. Do you understand the design or not? Do you need to do research on that to make yourself understand or not? That is the most critical part. For us, we are in this field. We are making money with these things. So if I not understand the concept, I need to make it clear. I need to develop some platform, or buy development board for us to build some knowledge on that particular so-called things that we want to do. So this one will take some time. It depends on how difficult you want to do. So if that's not a problem, okay, then component is a problem. So component, whether lead time is a problem. Right nowadays, when we want to do a project, we have to check because of the IC shortage worldwide. Then we need to check whether we can buy the IC or not, that particular IC, or we need to change to other IC. So this is the thing that define how long is the project. For us, we are used to the design. So I know, okay, roughly take how long to complete the PCB design, to the firmware actually take how long to do. If the thing that we are quite sure one normally take shorter time. We are not ready one, then we take longer time to do a research. So it still depend on do you understand the skill set needed or not? This is very important. Do you so-called have a ready component on your hand or not? That's also another critical part. If both is not a problem, then it's like your kitchen already ready all the ingredient. You want to cook what? Okay, you understand the concept. You just cook whatever you want to cook. Okay, so for us it's like that also. I have a store in my company. Keep a lot of components. Then I have a lot of tools also. I have a small maker space. So let's say the idea is quite simple. Okay, then we can cook. It's just like cooking lah. Very fast. Cooking, do a small project to prove the concept. So if you're not ready on that, then you have to start with something. You have to start from fundamental lah. Okay, it depends on what you want to do, how difficult. Okay, But anyhow, don't start with something very complicated. You don't understand. You have to identify whatever. Maybe you need to use whatever you understand to understand what you are not understand. You cannot use what you are not understand to understand something you are not understand. This is a very important concept. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kang. Question next is for Mr. Ong. Mr. Ong, you mentioned about the importance of tools and buying the right tools in a maker's project. So this question is it true that being a maker requires a lot of cost, especially in terms of buying components and paying for online programs?
Online program.
Yes.
The question.
Yes.
Online program that I'm not so expert in, but usually online program, it depends on the modular process. I mean, some of the software company, they're expecting some user to pay by modular kind of thing, right? So I mean these tools or so-called investment is very subjective to all the makers discipline, right? So actually, this is just I did not mention as well. Why I recommend a maker space. I mean the public maker space. One of the reasons is sometimes it doesn't make sense for you to buy a tools or to have a software license to run a maker project, right? I quote a very simple example. If you stay in an apartment, you want to do a wood making project, do you expecting to buy a circular saw and cut the wood at the apartment? I think I'm very sure the next day you'll get a complaint, right? So this is not visible, right? So sometimes in the software environment, right, depend on the program or so-called software you want to use. It is good. I mean, the first thing just now I shared a couple of software. Actually, it's the free software. You can get it online, right? Of course, the limitation, the function has a limited, and it's a limited function of the software, but it is good enough for a maker, as a maker, right? So my recommendation is for software, usually it's the lowest cost for a maker. As long as you can get a free version of the software or trial version for education, right? Then that is almost I would say it's a very low investment of money. The highest part is more on the physical part, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ong. Back to you, Mr. Kang. In your talk just now, you talked about the T concept for your project. So this question is, what makes a good maker project? Is it the concept used for the project or the contribution or practicality of the project?
Okay. Of course, the end of the project, you have to serve the purpose. Okay. Whatever project you do, it serve the purpose. And sometimes why we need to think in the beginning, because we need to see what concept. To do a project, you can have many ways to do a project. To design, let's say, an application, you can have many ways. So sometimes it depends on the availability of the parts. Let's say you have a very short time, limited time, or limited budget. That means those things actually limit you to do something luxury or longer time. So like that, you need to see, okay, if I'm using this concept, you'll take longer time. You're using this concept, you'll take more expensive. I mean, you don't have the budget. And then in terms of quality also, you have to understand that if I'm using this way, what is the outcome, the potential quality outcome? So you have to serve the purpose. We are not doing something perfect. We are doing something serve the purpose. Okay, in terms of the time, cost, so-called functionality, those type of things. Maker always think, don't do something perfect. It's nothing more is perfect. You need to serve the purpose. Okay. So key concept is something like you need to figure out if I choose this one, what happened? I choose this one, what happened? Then we need to see, okay, to wait which one actually better. So that's why to think about the key concept is something very interesting, very challenging. So you need to wait and then need to see from different angle. It's the way we train our thinking. That's why when I do like that, I always using a software like Microsoft Visual for me to put whatever I capture some photos or some spec on the screen, and then put in, because Microsoft Visual actually you can put many things on the one page. So like that, you try to see different option of concept, and then you can visualize it. As long as you can visualize it, then you will find better concept. It's like something Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie we see, and then you have a big screen, like the so-called on the sky like that, and then he choose what he want. It's something like that. Okay, the concept, how to formulate the concept. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kang. This next question is not directed to Adam, so it's open to both Mr. Kang and Mr. Ong. It's can I make money from this maker project, and can I get any grant for my project? Either speakers can answer this question.
Making money, yes, definitely. Depend on how, I mean, do I have an entrepreneurship kind of mindset to make something that can be sellable, right? And for grant, it's beyond my knowledge. So, Kang, what do you think, Mr. Kang? How do you think about it?
Okay, basically, like Keat Teong say, if you want to make become a business, you need to have an entrepreneurship. Yes. If you, because they got a lot of other things involved, that means you need to have a idea, and then you need to have a unique idea, something unique. If you think about idea and then you go to search around, you find out the idea already there already. Someone selling very cheap on the in the Taobao or what, then you cannot do already. You see, you cannot earn money on that. So to earning money right now, like now it's not like 20 years back now. Now is a lot of things in the online you can search. So you want to make something unique, then you need to do a lot of groundwork. You have to have a basic skill. Your basic skill, you have to good in certain skill. I think good in certain skill is very important. You cannot, you may be good in certain type of skill. Sometimes some people good in certain software, certain kind of software, or certain kind of hardware, because you cannot good in everything. Even though hardware actually cover a lot of things. So you good on certain things, and then you figure out what you good on, and then you go to imagine something that will help people, and then people want to use it, and you actually do it, and you patent it. Okay. If you don't patent it, if you have a unique idea, then later on it will be other people patent. Then you cannot earn money with that idea also. So it will be more complicated at that. So if you are just a beginner, you have a big heart like that, then I think what I can say is you need to start to do. So they got whether you start to do based on you want to create a product. They got product or project. Product and project is different area. Means product means that you do something is an end product. Okay, something like that. It's an end product. Okay, a project is a partial of the thing. Okay, so it's a different requirement in terms of your skill set. A product will be more difficult. Project will be more easier. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kang and Mr. Ong. Now this last question is directed to Mr. Ong. It's for the learning process. Question is, what is the best way to learn a certain skill quickly? For example, a programming language or learning about visual detection module.
I still back to the fundamental, right? Learning, I mean, from myself, I mean, my perspective is my experience is I learn through internet. It's the fastest, it's the easiest way. And as a maker, whatever programming you want to do, if you're not master in, I mean, if you're not master in the coding, right, coding itself, right? If you're not master in those memory management itself, it's very difficult for you to write a code, start from scratch, line one by one, start to do the module object and memory management and also all those function and capability in the software, right? It's so complex, difficult. So the best way is to learn from others, right? To see who has done that project before with that module, so-called a routine of the program that is open freely for you to use without any copyright or patent or whatever concern. Then just plug in a module and run it as a tool, right? So just now the question also come with the visual detection, right? Yeah. So visual detection, actually that is the SDK or so-called, I mean, usually it's the SDK. And today, I'm not sure. In my old day, there is the SDK for a Visual Basic that you can call that software development kit. Just call that function and it has a calculation behind it. You just push in the image and it'll push out the, return with the data for you, right? That kind of the SDK is made available in the Visual Basic. And just go ahead and use the SDK and plug in the web camera to capture image and push the image into that SDK, and the SDK will return you in the information. So for me, I actually know nothing about SDK, but I got a result as what I want, right? So as a maker, as a beginner, you can try on that approach, right? Make the thing happen first. Then slowly you got to understand how the SDK works, right? How the SDK in the background convert your image from the image RGB into the black and white, and how the black and white do so-called some kind of the toning to make the object easier to differentiate, and how the artificial intelligence behind to do the so-called learning process, right? Either back propagation or forward propagation of learning process, it depending, right? It's up to the end result you want. Right? So that is the second stage of you go into understand on the detail, right? First thing, make it happen, make yourself happy. Feel that you can do the thing first, right? Okay, yeah, that's all I have. Yeah.
Thank you to both Mr. Kang and Mr. Ong for answering the questions. Now we shall move on with our third and final speaker for today, Mr. Nilavarasan Periasamy, and the topic is what is maker's culture and how to become a maker. So Mr. Nilavarasan can take over the floor.
Okay, so you guys can see me?
Yes.
Hope that I am having a different background. Yeah. So you guys can hear me?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
All right, okay then. All right, so thank you very much. And I'm Nilavarasan from Penang Science Cluster. So I guess you know Penang Science Cluster. So what you guys can see at the background is actual makerspace, or what we call it over here is a garage. So I intended to show how the garage will look like, or the makerspace will look like. At least you guys have some idea what we have and what we're doing. And then this can also give some motivation for the others to kind of start off. All right, so talking about this maker, well, I'm also a maker. So Keat Teong there, also another maker. So looks like another person there. Okay, seems to be all Kang's another maker. So they've been doing this maker things for a long time, and I've been with the Penang Science Cluster for some time, supporting and provide training, and also being maker and do some consultation for them. So as for the pandemic, during the pandemic, it was shut down for a while. and we're going to start all over again, and then everything going to be open soon. So this is just to promote to everyone is that the science cluster will be open very soon. We'll be inviting all the people to start come and join. In addition to that, we also need volunteers to join us. All right, so let's talk about these makers. Well, talking about the makers, we all makers, of course. Every one of us makers. And if you do some kind of a DIY, you're already there. You are a maker, right? So maker actually, the term maker actually started not very long time. I think in 2006 by I think though I can't remember this person who actually started this maker magazine, Make magazine, and then he started the maker fair, and then this term maker I think started from there, the maker. Now all this while what we know is whatever that we do on our own is DIY. Now maker is something things extension to this DIY with many other technologies combined, like the science and technology, engineering, arts, or mathematics. Sometimes called also a STEM or STEAM. So combination of all this, so it makes a maker, and eventually there is a culture, and from the culture starts all this maker movement. I believe in our country it's not fully established maker, but of course there are a lot of maker spaces are available. I believe in the KL and some other places where a real maker space is available for the makers can use for the activities. And back in Penang, we have almost a full-fledged maker space in Penang. Our maker space is of course combined of mechanical, we have woodworking, we have programming areas, we have a lot of instruments. So it's a whole range of maker space for everyone to use. So talking about maker, of course, everybody are maker, and this maker is become maker by learning through doing. Now, when you do something, definitely you are a maker. Now, what's the problem with us being a maker? Now, one of the things that stopping us, I would say, becoming a maker is first is the knowledge and resources. Sometimes it's a kind of a system that we have here where we don't know where to get this information or resources. Sometimes we even have a fear of doing something, so much so we depend on others to do. That is something already built in us, and we don't have something like a DIY kind of a mindset. When we start to look for, to do how to do, or even when we look around us, what we can use to do, then I think we almost can start to be a maker. So let's say, for example, when you want to do some kind of a job at home, we intend to call someone to do, and that's it. So if we try to kind of look for resource and knowledge and ask someone, and we start doing ourselves, then we're starting this journey of a maker. So when we start doing it in a DIY form, then from there it can extend it further, and we can go into this makers community, right? As I said, this is a maker. Maker is start from the maker, and the maker become now as a culture, and then this maker is it's like a movement, a big movement now. So next we're talking about how we can start to become a maker. Generally, what we need to be a maker is, of course, resources and knowledge. Talking about many years ago, we don't have much knowledge and information and resources, tools. Internet is not so much available. A lot of people may not know where to find such information. Today, the information is, I would say, abundant. Informations are everywhere. Resources, tools are everywhere. A lot of people are now getting involved in these activities. So we can kind of get this knowledge from others. So with this, I think generally we can start to be a maker. Now, in addition to this kind of activities, we can start with learning more, how to put more information. Let's say we're doing a kind of a simple robotics or some electronic stuff. Today, we can even put the microcontroller built in. There are a lot of embedded devices today is available. So we can put this electronics in to build this electronics in such a more advanced manner. But before we want to start even to do that, we need some space, of course. Sometimes we need a proper space. I believe a lot of us may have this kind of a problem. We don't know where we can start to do this. Basically, we can start from home, of course. You don't need to find anywhere else. Just start from home, trying to find a corner, some space. We may have a space. We never thought of the space can be utilized. I've been to other countries. I found this kind of a space. They really make use of the space at home. They really build. I personally have seen these people have utilize their house into some corners to do this kind of activities. But I think in our country, we don't really do that. But I think in order for us to start, find a space, find a bench, find a table, and then you can start off, and then start getting some tools. Tools are available. I know many years ago, getting all these tools is a bit hard. And then nowadays, tools are everywhere. You can get all those tools easily. Simple tools you can start with. And then we can organize all the tools such a way according to what really we want. All this depends what really you want to, what kind of work you want to do. I involve in many of these activities, especially in electronics, programming. I also have a hobby of woodworking. It's one of my favorite. I have a lot of woodworking tools. So depends on what you want to do. So you can get all these resources, organize it, and then put it together. Then you can start off. Getting information how to do, I think, is abundant. Today, the makers culture is about copy paste kind of a way of doing things. We wanted to get these people, just get information of others and just do it what they do. And then this kind of information will be commonly easily available. So the copy paste kind of concept is quite widely we use in this makerspace. Just get what they do, copy what they do, and then we try to apply it here. We may do a small change. Then I think we can do whatever that we want. All right. Other tools, of course, we may need some software, of course, like a 3D Builder, Tinkercad, FreeCAD, 3Doctor, or there are many softwares, open source softwares available. This is one of the tools that we may need if you're going further advanced in this area of makers culture. All right. The other tools that you may need is, which is also popular nowadays, is 3D printer. I built myself one 3D printer. Unfortunately, I can't show it. It's actually hidden somewhere behind this workshop. I made partly from the wood. So this is actually a DIY kind of 3D printer I made. So 3D printer is one of the tools. It's quite popular, quite commonly used these days for the maker to build something. In addition to that, some people may have a simple CNC or some laser engravers and laser cutters. These are a bit expensive items. 3D printers are quite cheap. I think nowadays you can get one of these tools. So in order to get you to get stuck into this makers activities, tools, a space, maybe some software, even some equipment, all this you may need to start off really properly. Or the best, you can come to us places where maker space is offered for you to do these activities, like this Penang Science Cluster. So you can study here, and then you can someone can come here. If those around here in Penang can come and join us. As I said, we already are starting all those activities, and we can start your makers journey here. So we have people who can guide you, who can teach you, myself, and we have other people. Of course, today with me, we also have my colleague here, Adrian, who also helped me to set up all this. So we have a couple of people here who actually can help to guide you through this this knowledge. All right. So I think try to make it as simple as possible. So that's all I think from me. Any question?
Yes, sir. We have a few questions from the chat right here. The first one would be the simple question: can anyone join the Penang Makers Space?
Yes, anybody can join. Of course, you can contact. I can provide you more information to the host later. You can contact us, and we'll give you all the information, and you can join.
Okay. A second question here, sir, is earlier you mentioned that DIY and makers is different. What is the difference between DIY and being a maker?
Okay, so DIY is something that we do day to day kind of a work. Whenever you want to find something to do at home, you quickly take something and quickly do it. But maker is something I would say is an extension of DIY. So when I say extension, means a lot of other knowledge and other information that needed not to be a maker. A maker is a little bit more than DIY. What you do, you may need a little bit of knowledge on the electronics, maybe some programming stuff you want to do, some engineering, some science knowledge. All this required in order to be a maker. Maker is something that we use the tools and then we tell the story how we make that. So all this is coming from various combinations of the knowledge that we put in together to be a maker.
Being on that point, so question here asking, is being a maker predominantly involves the field of engineering?
Yes, being a maker, definitely yes. You're already starting another kind of a journey into engineering, because a lot of these makers eventually end up in a small startup companies, in a commercial base. When they have a sufficient knowledge of engineering knowledge, they can do wonders into their whatever that they intended to do. You know that a lot of startup companies, this is how they start up. People are starting from scratch. They get together people who have this knowledge, various knowledge, engineering and science and technology, or some other programming knowledge, or even arts, for example. So all this, they put it together, and that's where they become excel in engineering.
So earlier you mentioned something about the copy-paste mentality. So this question is, if I have a weak knowledge in programming, is it okay for me to just copy the codes online for my program or for my project?
Yeah, why not? Because this code's already available and it's there, and these codes are being shared for everyone to use, unless some copyright messages are there. But generally, if you go and look for these codes, they are almost there everywhere, in the Git and everywhere. So you can just copy it, you can modify it. I believe this is what almost everyone is doing, because we cannot starting from scratch line by line. We'll be doing the programming, then it may take a very long time. So not to quickly start into this kind of working, we have to copy somewhere and then start it first. Now, of course, some of the parts and tools and systems may be a little bit different. The code maybe needs some modification, of course. So we have to adjust according to what we have.
Okay, so this question is a bit inquiring for you. It's about how did you first join the Maker Society, and could you explain some of the projects that you have completed so far along your journey?
Okay, so I have a lot of projects. I don't have this project right now. As I said, 3D printer is behind our store here. This is one of it I did. In fact, I exhibited this 3D printer many times in the science fair. In the last few years, science fair, my 3D printer was exhibited. A lot of people was kind of curious how this 3D printer was made, because 90% of material was made from wood. All right. I even made a CNC, a wood CNC machine by myself. In fact, why I need the CNC is because one of my hobby is wood making. So I wanted some tools to do this kind of a craft cutting. So I made this small CNC. It's real CNC. I tried to get a controller, all this 3-axis controller, a spindle, and all the stepper motors. Then I built this. Now, that was way back many years ago. But then now, this CNC kits are already available. It's very cheap. I saw it. It's very common. You can just build it, you know. So these are the few things. The rest of it, I did a lot of small projects. Sometimes I do at home also, small projects at home. all those lighting stuff, sound stuff. I play around with the sound stuff. I even intend to do, there's another project that I intend to do, not sure when. You know, in the house, your whole ceiling, the whole ceiling I want to fill up with this WS2812 LEDs. This is individually controlled LEDs. And I wanted to light up the whole ceiling, at least about 400 to 500 LEDs. This is what I intended. I'm already buying some parts. It may take a couple of months. So these are some of the projects I intend to do. I've done quite a lot of woodworking. The woodworking stuff actually is my car. So that's another project I get involved with. So woodworking, programming stuff, lighting, something to do with the sound. I'm really enthusiastic with the sound, how I can make use of the sound, convert into something. So these are the areas that I mostly get involved with.
Yeah, next question, Doctor. It's hello. I usually find myself getting demotivated or burnt out during some projects. Sometimes certain parts of the project does not work accordingly.
Again, can you repeat the question?
It's hello. I usually find myself getting demotivated or burnt out during some projects.
Okay.
Sometimes certain parts of the projects do not work accordingly. Sometimes I just abandon them. My question is, how do you keep yourself motivated and consistent with all the projects you do?
Okay, motivation is number one, what we call requirement to be in this maker. You need to get motivated to go along. If you don't have the motivation, that's it. You will quit, or it happened the other way around. There's nothing will happen to you. So when you do something, when things that doesn't work, you have to find some ways. I've worked many years ago with one university project. This is actually kind of autonomous car. Way back, quite some time. Even when Raspberry Pi at the time new, I was trying to struggle to use the Arduino board, which not really work. But then I found another solution how to do it, which means when the thing is not working, we have to switch to another solution. Why it is not working? Because the speed, the so-called the viewing angle. So a couple of things are not fast enough for such kind of Arduino board. We can't really do. So we have to find another solution. So luckily that at that time when I was working with them, I found another board called Beagle board. Beagle board is something like a Raspberry Pi. Now what we have, Beagle board available very long time ago, quite expensive board. At that time, it cost about almost 500 to 600 ringgit at that time. So we have that board. So I use the board to do some programming, and it works wonders at that time. So this is how we actually switch and find a solution. So when one doesn't work, switch to another solution. Look for what is really missing things there. What is the real problem? If a speed problem, try to solve the speed problem. If the vision is not really capturing fast enough, try to get high speed. Of course, at the time, not really high speed. It's sufficient enough speed to run. This is how we will get motivated and continue to. Now, of course, at that time, sometimes what really pulling down us is because of the information and knowledge. Not many people do this kind of thing way back many years ago. But now it is common. Now, if you look at talking about autonomous vision system, OpenCV can do wonders actually. So this is how we do it. And of course, motivation is number one criteria. You have to be motivated.
Okay, sir. And now for the final question for you. Do you have any suggestion or advice to the young makers nowadays?
First of all, young makers, they look physically. First, they look, they get interested. As they're going into deeper, they get demotivated. They don't get what they want actually. They were looking for something else because today the world is full of gadgets. Our young people, our mind are filled with all these gadgets, with the phone and all these gadgets. So it's a bit hard to bring them into this track. Sometimes I will motivate them. Sometimes I show them certain things, how to do this, how you can do something differently. For example, when they build something, oh, I really can't do anything. I just quit. So this is, I think I've seen this many times when I working with the schools. So we have to find, motivate them, giving them a different solution. This is definitely will work. If not, then we have to give more information, try to give them more until it works, then they are happy with that. So we have to give them a little bit more extra knowledge and extra resource until they really get into that. Now, this is very common for young people. It's very common that they will get demotivated very, very fast, because maker is not something that you can start like 1, 2, 3 or ABC or something like that. It is more than that. They have to know a little bit of additional knowledge. They need to have done. This knowledge is something that most of the time the young people lacking of, and then they're trying to find a lot of a shortcut to to get things done. So this is something that we should avoid. Teach them the proper way, show them the right way, and then show them how it works, and then show them where to get this information. The most important part, show them where our informations are available, right? So this is how I think we can get these young people to get into this kind of activities.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the fellow speakers, Mr. Kang, Mr. Ong, and Mr. Nilavarasan. That is the end of our talk today. A very knowledgeable session on the basics on how to start your projects, the fundamentals on the thought process and the challenges, and basically the whole mindset grind on how to be a makers. And Mr. Nilavarasan also shared the critical fundamental ideas and problems that the young generation face and how they should overcome all of this. So before we actually end our...
But can I add one more thing?
Yes, Mr. Kang, sure.
Okay. I heard from the problem that sometimes we are demotivated from projects. Especially, I think the most easier one will be when you are doing embedded firmware. Because embedded firmware, you actually deal with hardware, electronic hardware, and also firmware by itself. Let's say you have an Arduino box, and then you connect to some sensor, something, and the program not work. Then you don't know what happened. So this one, normally, when you have a hardware, electronic hardware, and also you have a firmware, you wrote the firmware, you're not sure whether it's a firmware problem or it's a hardware problem. So this is the first thing when you do programming on the embedded microcontroller, means that you need to ask yourself, am I dealing with a hardware problem or actually it's a firmware problem? So you need to go to fundamental. Of course, the first fundamental will be hardware. Your hardware, the power is okay or not? Is it correct voltage? Okay. So you need to actually go to fundamental on hardware, and then you need to see the hardware based on the block perspective. This is a power supply block. This is a microcontroller. This is connect to the certain kind of IC. You need to make it separate. If you can do that, then it will be more easier. So you need to go to the fundamental, say, okay, this one is definitely not problem. Okay, because if you have problem, it's combination problem. Let's say you have a problem, you face a problem, but you don't know actually this problem behind is a combination, the problem from a few hardware and then also a firmware, and then actually you make a beginner be very frustrated on debugging the thing because you're not sure where the problem come from. So for me, I dealing with many years of these kind of things. So you need to develop a skill, how to so-called go back to the fundamental and then test one by one. Or you need to confirm, okay, this part definitely not a problem. And then I go for this part. If I'm not sure, you need to go back again. Make sure you know that what is a fundamentally not a problem one. But which area actually really is not a problem. Okay, hardware. And then after that, when you go to firmware, also same, because sometimes you're using other people library, or you write your own program, you're not sure what happened. Then you go to fundamental. You don't write the whole complete coding. You write partial, the small part of the coding. And then after you work properly, and then you go further. That's why sometimes you save the program in many revisions. Okay, it's running already. Then you save in another revision. And then you go again. You save another revision and then you go again. Don't one time straight away build a big chunk of program, and then definitely no one can save you. Okay. You have to do one small step at a time. Okay. That's all from my feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Kang, explaining that. I'm sure there are many new or novice people, makers here who are just starting starting their makers journey. And sometimes these problems are the ones that really deter them and demotivate them from continuing their makers journey. Because, for example, I myself, my first project was for my university was smart home automation using Raspberry Pi. Sometimes along the way, me and my partner wouldn't know where the problem is, whether it's programming or whether it's wiring. And sometimes the programming can be very extensive, a few hundred lines. And once you write that long, and then you see all these kind of errors just pop up. If you don't test it segment by segment, if you just test it at a go, and that's the problems that and Mr. Kang explained. So it's very important for everyone here to really take step-by-step approach in building their makers project. Thank you, Mr. Kang, Mr. Nilavarasan, and Mr. Ong. So before we end our session today, I would like to remind everyone again that this is our website for our main event, which is Makers at USM International Virtual Fair. And in this website, you can find all the important information, as you can see in the participation here. We have three categories: the universities, college, secondary, and primary school. These three categories, and the project teams are categorized into 5: science, environment, energy, health, and agriculture. You can read all the specifications here. And the most important thing is the registration. Going on to the registration, because this is the last week for registration. 30th May is the deadline. So all teams and participants from all across Malaysia, all across the world who wants to register, please do so. As the registration link, you can find it from the registration form here. And going to the submission part here, each team that has been registered, before you submit your 5 minutes video project, you're required to submit an abstract not exceeding 250 words and a 1-page quad chart. Now, the quad chart, we have given an example below here. This is the front cover. This is the front cover of that each team has to submit. And this is the quad chart sample. You can see the design of the quad charts. Every team that is registered, you can look through all these things. So it's important, again, for everyone to register. And those who have attended the talk today, please fill in your attendance form, which is linked in the YouTube live chat box there, because you will be getting a certificate for attending today's talk. So that is all. We will see you next on our third and final Makers Talk, which will be on the 30th of April, this Saturday. Again, thank you to all fellow speakers, Mr. Nilavarasan, Mr. Kang, and Mr. Ong, for this meaningful session today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on the second Makers Talk. Well, take care now. Until then, we will meet you again for the third Makers Talk. Take care, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.